Hey guys, how are you? This is Jim Prusak, physiotherapist here at the Pain PT. And today we're going to go over the power of the nocebo effect and how it can produce very real physical symptoms in your body. Now, for those of you who are not familiar, the nocebo effect is the opposite of the placebo effect, which many of you may have heard of. And the power of the nocebo is quite strong, and some studies indicate that it's stronger than the placebo effect. And I really want to highlight this today with some studies because I want you guys to know if you're on the fence about these conditions and yourself, and if you have brain and nervous system induced symptoms, that your brain can cause so many different symptoms in your body. And it has nothing to do with the body or the pill you're taking. It has everything to do with your expectation and your belief. Okay, so the nocebo effect is about your beliefs and your expectations. And a lot of these are negative for people. A lot of them are ingrained, a lot of them are subconscious, core beliefs. A lot of them have been inserted into our brains, you could say, from medical professionals, people we've seen, things we've heard, things we read, Dr. Google. And these things are very real, guys. I want you to understand these are very real things that can impact and cause your symptoms. Okay, so let's go through a couple of things here. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to bring you through a couple of things here. So this is a little article for Psychology Today from Lisa Rankin, who's a doctor. You may have heard of her. She's written a couple of books about mind-body healing and how negative thoughts. So really, this nocebo is beliefs, thoughts, expectations. Okay, we talk a lot about emotions, and that is also a big component to people's symptoms. But people's beliefs and expectations are just as important in some cases, and they're a part of the problem that we're trying to heal. Okay, so again, we've heard of this placebo effect, but this negative unwanted side effects or negative medical symptoms we can have them from what's called a nocebo. Okay, the nocebo complaints aren't random. They can come from different drugs. They can come from beliefs, from somebody's told you something. Like I said, if you suggest somebody's going to get a headache, they might. I've got a number of people who I work with who are very sensitive people, and if they're talking to somebody about a pain the person has, they might get the same pain. Some of you guys may resonate with that. That's a nocebo effect. Okay, it's where your brain can actually pick up, resonate with something, and then you can get the very same symptom. Okay, so that proves the brain can cause this in your body. So I wanted to share this one story that she shared in here that was pretty interesting. Now, classically, we can think about a nocebo effect in voodoo death, okay, where these witch doctors and stuff can put a curse on somebody and people actually die. And that can be very real. If the person believes a curse was put on them and their society and their culture that has a lot of power, then that person can actually die. And that's only from the belief that something was put on them. So this is a story here, which is quite interesting that this guy who was sent a story, he was a doctor who was diagnosed with exact same illness as his specialty. Okay, he was diagnosed with malignant tumors on both lungs. He was told by his doctors that he had 5 years to live. And knowing what he knew about the disease, Steve believed this. Exactly 5 years later to the day, he was snorkeling in Maui when he was found unconscious on the shore. He was resuscitated, but he had been without oxygen to the brain for over 4 minutes and wound up in a coma until his family chose to withdraw life support. So the brother wrote, more than anything else, I think my brother believed that. When diagnosed with disease, the patient has 5 good years left. And just as you said in videos, a nocebo effect. So sad he had to go this way. Okay, so this idea that the nocebo and the belief is really powerful. So I'm going to show you some other studies that might blow your mind here, guys, to show you the power of your brain. So again, here's a fact-checked study. The nocebo effect may be why people think statins cause muscle pain. Now, statins are cholesterol medications that people take. And I'm going to show you here in the study from the UK that statins don't cause muscle pain. Well, what's causing this very real muscle pain in the person? Their brain. So the nocebo, guys, is your brain producing something in your body. Okay, there may be a strong nocebo effect. People expect to experience muscle pain, and because of that, they begin to experience muscle pain. So your expectation of what you've been through, whether it be walking, sitting, standing, doing something, eating a food, taking a pill, based on your past experience, based on what you learned, can cause your symptoms. So I want you guys to understand that this can create and cause your symptoms. Okay, so statins don't appear to cause muscle pain. Okay, in the study, the evidence seems very strong that statins do not cause muscle pain. The doctor from Yale reported here. So what we found here in the study is that the myalgia or muscle pain is likely due to nocebo effect. Again, it's similar to the placebo. And what they found was in recent studies that 9 out of 10 patients, so 90% of people with muscle pain, is due to the nocebo effect. And only 1 out of 10 people, 10%, have true statin-related pain. Okay, so let's think about that. A ton of people would think the opposite. They would believe, probably 90% of people would believe the muscle pain was due to the medication. But that is not true, as you saw here. Let's move on. This will blow your mind too. A lot of people might give me some pushback on this, but I'm just reporting the studies. Gluten is not responsible for symptoms in most people with non-celiac. Okay, so if people don't have celiac disease, celiac gluten sensitivity, okay, non-celiac gluten sensitivity, it can be a nocebo effect again here. So in this study here, to begin with, these researchers, several conclusions that can be drawn from results. To begin with, they hint at the possibility that gluten may not be responsible for GI and extraintestinal symptoms in the vast majority of patients with self-reported non-celiac gluten sensitivity. Okay, they did a big study here, a double-blind placebo-controlled study to confirm it. They wanted to determine the accuracy of their study. So they performed a review of 10 similar studies with over 1,300 people. So a lot of people, right? And what they found here was that only 16% of patients with non-celiac gluten sensitivity showed gluten-specific symptoms. 40% of these patients had a nocebo response. Okay, again, their brain. Okay, so gluten is not to blame for the sensitivity. It highlights the importance of the nocebo effect. All right, so this idea that your brain, the expectations, gluten, what does gluten have in our society now? What kind of label, what kind of understanding, what kind of meaning does it have to you guys? It's got a negative interpretation, maybe just same thing like dairy. Okay, so the power of your brain to create, amplify symptoms is very real. Let's continue on. Another one's going to blow your mind. 3/4 of COVID-19 vaccine side effects are likely due to the nocebo effect. So that's 75% of people getting a COVID vaccine side effect is likely due to the nocebo effect. Okay. So again, this is your brain, the perception, you're perceiving that, they're believing that, they're thinking that, they're expecting that. Okay, COVID's a very charged thing in our society because of the fear and the worry and a whole bunch of other stuff. So the negative effects, because they expect them to occur. Okay, so it's really quite interesting, all this research around these different things. And this was looking at 12 articles, over 45,000 people. So the data is strong, guys. You can't argue with this. Okay, again, if you're arguing with it, it's your belief that, oh no, it can't be my brain. But that's just your belief again and your perception. But your perception is your reality. Your perception becomes your reality. Okay, so what they found here was that this nocebo was quite strong in the study. Okay, so this is again COVID vaccines side effects. People having most COVID vaccine side effects are mild. Okay, so the likelihood of a severe effect is small, perhaps one in a million or fewer. So the actual really true effect is very small. Okay, so it's seen in only 0.3% of people. So what we're finding here is that it's not due to the vaccine, but it's due to this nocebo effect. Okay, so let's look at another study here with a different type of condition. So this is an interesting one on MRI reports for back pain, catastrophizing effects, report on the patient and the surgeon. So in this study, again, blinded trials, randomized controlled trials, what they did was they took these people in group A. The surgeon gave a factual explanation of their MRI report to the patient. So they told them what was going on. You got herniated disc, you got facet joint arthritis, you got spondylolisthesis, you got all these things going on in your spine. Group B, they were reassured. Look, this is a very good word here. They were reassured that their MRI findings, which were the same ones as Group A, showed normal changes, meaning normal abnormalities. So they reassured them that, hey, you got the same things in your back, but they're fine. Everybody else has them too. Don't worry about it. You're fine. What happened? Well, 6 weeks later, after 6 weeks of treatment, Group A, who just got the facts, had more negative perception of their spinal condition, increased catastrophizing, decreased pain improvement, and poorer functional status. Again, it was all due to this negative perception, okay, that the doctor put in their head. So again, the messages you received from your doctor, the messages you received from reading things, and then you believing that has a very real impact on your symptoms. And I really want you guys to understand this because it's not something that's small, it's quite large, as you're seeing in these studies. I'm going to share one more with you today because this is the common one for people is fatigue. We see a lot of chronic fatigue. So the influence of nocebo on fatigue and the urge to stop. Okay, so again, in the study here, what we found is nocebo effects may contribute to fatigue and the urge to stop doing something. Now, this is really important because a lot of people in chronic fatigue, they start getting so exhausted and tired, they stop. And they think, oh no, what's going on? This is bad. So there's a negative association now with what they're doing, let's say walking or moving or doing something, and this fatigue, and they believe that that is connected, that there's something wrong with that, what they're doing. Okay, so this study found that when people were fed some negative information about doing a task and related to fatigue, they had more effects of fatigue, okay, when they did this thing here. So the idea that what you believe, your perception, okay, what you believe about anything you're doing, what you've been told about your condition, about a movement, about a food, about an exercise, it could be anything. And if you have a negative belief and a negative expectation and a negative perception, well, then your brain is likely kicking off some level of symptoms as a result of that. That's your brain, guys. All the studies I showed you and all those effects that were very real symptoms for people were produced by their brain. So if you have any doubt that your brain is producing symptoms in your body, these studies should put that to bed for you, okay? Because the brain is the master controller in your body. It can cause anything, and it controls every system in your body, every system. So people will say, Jim, well, they told me it's my immune system causing this. Well, what controls that? Hey, they told me it's a respiratory problem. Okay, what controls that? So every organ, every system, every tissue, every muscle is innervated by the nerves, which is controlled by the central nervous system, which is your spinal cord and your brain. So the nocebo, guys, is one piece here of a brain issue. We talk about emotion is another piece. Central sensitization is another piece. Memories and traumas is another piece. These are all brain things that can funnel down in your body and create symptoms. Okay, so I wanted to highlight this today that the nocebo, these negative expectations and negative beliefs and perceptions can have very real impacts on your symptoms. We want to change that. Okay. And we want to understand that, hey, my brain can cause this and it can also cure this. The opposite is the placebo effect. When you have positive expectations and positive beliefs, that can cure your symptoms, just like people reading Dr. Sarno's books. So my job is to give you the evidence, guys, that this can impact you negatively, but also if you change your beliefs and expectations, it can impact you positively to heal. And that's what we're looking for when we're working with the brain. Okay, guys, I hope that was helpful. Put any comments in there. If you need support or help, you can find me at thepainpt.com for consultation, coaching, I have group sessions, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye.